alive.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I'm alive.
Go on.
That shit was tight, man.
And for anyone who doesn't know, what was tight?
We went skydiving. It was an experience for sure.
Where'd you go specifically?
San Diego. Yeah, man. Everything from the beginning to we touched back down was super tight. Everyone there is just so like enthusiastic about being up in the air. So they were just like checking us in. The girl was all excited. I was like, all right, chill. But obviously I didn't know what to expect. They basically gave us no training. They were just like, yo, just make yourself into a banana when we're free falling.
Well, hold on. Before you talk about the experience, before you even went there and got the reservations, did all that, what did you know about it, about skydiving?
Yeah, nothing much. I mean, I just knew you had there was like a certain amount of jumps that you had to make before you can jump solo and have your license, but I didn't really know, what it consisted of, how it started, and nothing like that. I just knew you show up, you got to pay, and then,
you jump.
To jump.
Yeah. I know we've talked about it already, but so before you told me about it, this is what I knew about it. So I knew that you were strapped into someone your first time because you can't jump solo because
right.
Panic and anything else. I knew that I assumed that there was some kind of, I don't know, I guess training period right before you jump, where I'm assuming they walk you through everything. And they probably have some checks here and there. And then the flight up, I assumed that you would be tied with whoever you were going to jump with right from the beginning. So again, I assume that you get on the plane, and as soon as you get on, whoever's your jump instructor, whoever you're going to jump with, you're tied to them from the beginning as soon as you get on. That's just me assuming. And then now for the actual jump, I've heard that right before you jump, the doors open and they say, all right, you ready? And you're tied with whoever you're going to jump with. And then they count you down. They say 3, 2, 1, and then you jump. But what I've heard is that before when they would do the countdown, that a lot of people, when they would do the, all right, ready, 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1, however they counted on the last digit, a lot of people would extend their arms to catch themselves because at that moment they didn't want to do it. So what they started doing is they would say, all right, ready, 1, whoo, and just go for it. Because they knew that out of just fear or nervousness, that a lot of people would at the very last minute not want to do it. So to prevent that, 1, you're out of there. And then from the actual fall, I just know that people say it's amazing. Most people who've done it, they've never said, oh yeah, I fucking regret it. The opposite would happen, where they would be, oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. From people online or videos of people doing it, everyone for the most part seems to say, yeah, it was a great experience. I was scared at first, and I don't regret not doing it, or I have no regrets from doing it. And that's more or less all I knew about it before you told me anything.
Yeah. So yeah, it wasn't much of that. I feel like we got more instruction training when we went to go-karting.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they just told us hey, don't worry, just make yourself into a banana shape. And that's it. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Banana shape as in you're extended, but you're extended like a kind of like a yoga pose, but like the opposite way.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the downward dog, you're doing the opposite and it extending.
Yeah, falling towards the earth.
Yeah.
You're facing the earth.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't get much training, which was cool. I kind of rather it have been that way, because really I didn't have to do anything except just keep my hands where they had to be.
What do you mean? Where'd you have to place your?
Yeah, there was little straps on my shoulders. So.
Oh wait! So you couldn't extend your arms out?
No, not at the beginning. For the initial jump, you had to be here, and then they would tap you, and then you can extend out and enjoy the free fall. But I literally did nothing. I just went for the ride. It was sick.
You just had to commit. Well, when you pushed off, did you push off or did the guy?
Nah, the guy, he just said, you ready? And I'm like, yeah, 1. And I got to 2.
Okay, and then you pushed off.
And yeah, I just remember hearing the and we were just fucking falling.
Yeah.
When we got onto the plane, I walked on myself, so I wasn't strapped into him until we were like minutes from jumping. But what I did like is that we got strapped into my harness, and then some other guy came, double checked, and another guy came, double checked, and then the instructor came and he checked, and we're like, okay, cool. So that made me feel like even more like, all right, this place knows what they're doing. Right before we got on the plane, he's like, hold on, let me just check one more time, and then we got on the plane, took off, and it's like a little plane, like it's not like, you know, we were kind of crowded in. Checked one more time, and then he just said, all right, so just turn around and do like a little mini squat. He strapped me in and everything. He's like, all right, you don't have to hold yourself up, just let yourself be so your legs don't get burnt out. And so I just let go, but I just stayed there, so he was literally supporting all my weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the door opened, and all the tandem jumpers jump first, and the solos are at the end. Yeah, it was sick. I kind of, so you know how when we would go on roller coasters, and that initial like drop, you kind of like, if you didn't pull the bar down all the way, you had a little wiggle room, and you kind of were floating as you were flying down. You would get that like feeling in your nuts of like, it's hard to explain, but you get this like feeling in your nuts as you were falling.
Let me stop you there. No. I have no idea what you mean by feeling in your nuts, but I'm glad you used the roller coaster analogy, because I was going to bring up, you know, when you're saying the first time you told me about the checks, because you told me before that they did all those checks,
mm-hmm.
and there was multiple stations where they would check you for your harness just to make sure everything was tight and in place, and just to make sure it was working properly. Kind of how like they do it in roller coasters. You know how there's someone, they start at the front, they make their way down, and they don't really check it. I'm assuming.
Just push down on the
yeah, or if you have like the harness, they just kind of yank on it to make sure that it's closed.
Yeah,
I assume that's what it was like, except more detailed and more often.
Yeah, and they were checking specific points, like as connection points, but it wasn't like they were just like looking. They went through a checklist.
Yeah. There was a certain, like, they would start at the top. I'm assuming go down, check this. Okay, everything's working, and then just move on to the next person.
Yeah,
and keep going.
Yeah, but basically that free fall did not feel anything like a roller coaster. I would have to describe it as very peaceful. Even though you're falling so fast, but literally it was peaceful. I didn't feel this urge to scream of excitement, nothing. And it was like awfully, like, weirdly quiet. Like, you would think that you would hear like the as you were falling, but no, it was like super quiet, just peaceful. And then you just hear that he deployed the parachute. And then the only thing that kind of sucked was just the initial, like, the yank once the parachute caught.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt like my thigh area for a little bit. And I was just like, oh, this is uncomfortable. And then he like loosened up a little bit, and then I was perfectly fine. It was tight. I got to drive the parachute. So, and then we did fucking like some quick ass figure eights. That was sick. But yeah, it was tight. It was very tight.
Yeah, the pulling was something that I thought about too, because the harness is, well, at first I thought it was kind of like a roller coaster, but not hard plastic. You know how it kind of, you sit on it and something, there's like a little bump right in front of you,
mm-hmm.
where I guess your hips and your butt sit. I assumed that it was like that as well, where it kind of went under you and then kind of like around you and wrapped you.
Mm-hmm.
But the way you described it, no, it wraps around your hips, which I guess makes sense. Or not your hips, but your inner thighs.
Yeah.
It wraps here, and then I'm assuming it goes to your hips and then to your shoulders as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like all one piece.
Then, well, once we got on the ground, the instructor was cool. Started asking him questions like, what does it take? How long? And gave me some real cool information where my impulsive ass was like, fuck it, sign me up. So, but nah, I had to take a step back, and then I didn't want it to be like something that I just did because I wasn't, out of an impulse, and I was, riding the high of the free fall. Because although it was peaceful, it was like when I got to the ground, I was like, I want to do it again. Immediately, I was like, I want to do it again.
Wait, so for the initial fall, before you like go any farther, what did you? How did it feel? I guess because the closest thing that I could maybe kind of relate it to is, when you're in a car, you're on the freeway, wind's passing you by, and you can hear the air if you like crack the window open a little bit or all the way. Is that how it sounded?
That's what I expected it to sound like, but no, like for me, it was like just quiet.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was just me, like maybe I went tunnel vision or like I was very in the zone. I don't know. But
yeah,
it was just silence, quiet, which was odd. Man, now that I think about it, like obviously you could hear the wind, and it's probably how it sounded like, because it sounded like that when we did the figure eights once the parachute deployed. Yeah, I don't know. My experience was just peaceful.
Yeah, for the sound, I would assume that it's so that you not hear anything reminds me of like when we would play a football game or run a track race. You know how before the race you can obviously hear everybody, you can see everything, and then there's a moment where it gets silent, and then I don't know how it was for you, but once I'm racing or running or playing, we're playing a match, it feels quiet. But even though it's not, because there's people cheering, you hear the horns, the trumpets, and everyone's there, and you don't notice it until like something hype happens either in a track race or in a game. In a track race, when like someone passes someone else, or when it's getting really close, and then you hear the volume pick up, and then you kind of notice it, but it's almost like you're tuning it out. Whereas if you were a viewer, someone in the stands, you're obviously part of the hype, so you can hear it and you can like almost feel it. Same thing with the game. With the game, I know there was music, there was a band, but I didn't really pay attention. I was trying to focus on not fucking up my play. Like they were, because you have to focus because it gets so loud. You have to. Everyone's talking. And they say, "Okay, we're gonna run King 57," and then I'm thinking in my head, "Oh fuck, what do I have to do?" Okay, gotta. Okay, man, this guy. All right. And then you can, like you hear the sounds. There's people cheering, talking, eating, music, all the things. But you're just trying to focus on what you're trying to do. And I'm assuming that when you jumped, there was like that adrenaline, that same like excitement or fear or whatever it was. It made you focus. Like it threw you in the zone as soon as you jumped. And then I think I'm assuming that once you were landing doing the figure eights, that initial adrenaline had passed. It's almost like you played a full four-quarter game in like 30 seconds. Like the hype and all the way down to then. Or ran a race. Like it's initial hype and then you finish the race, and as soon as you finish, like all the senses come to, your breathing gets slower, you hear everything, you hear like the whistle. All right, everyone, next is the 400, everyone get in your lanes. And you're like, oh shit, all right, now I gotta get off the track.
Yeah. I get you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's what I would think I think that's why it was peaceful, and that's why you couldn't hear anything. That's me. That's my best assumption.
Yeah. It's hard to describe, just because it was nothing, like, I've never experienced that before. But I really liked it.